guys.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar. My name is Benna, and I am a support and training geoscientist at the Perth Purposes office. Today we are running the third instalment in our new Grid Editor web series, Grid Editing, Modifying Grid Nodes. In the past two webinars, we have covered localized regridding and generating a grid from a digitized image. If you'd like to view these webinars, then you can do so by navigating to the webinars page on the Purposes website. Now, before we start, just a couple of technical announcements. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available on our website very soon. Also, everyone is currently muted to ensure the best audio quality, so if you have any questions, then please type them into the questions box, and I will answer them after the webinar. Okay, so the agenda for today. I will start with a short introduction, just a couple of slides about the new grid editing tools and also how we modify grid nodes and why this is useful. We will then move on to the demonstration, where I will show you the different tools available. And then, if you like what you see and you would like to learn more about the Spatial Editor and the new capabilities, we will cover where you can get some additional information and help. Okay, so back in 2015, in version 17.6, we released the Spatial Editor, which is great contour, fault, polygon, and point data editing functionality. The Spatial Editor quickly became very popular with our clients due to the many spatial editing tools available, including the ability to edit multiple formats of data, such as shapefiles and Excel spreadsheets. Since its release, we've had a lot of feedback regarding the Spatial Editor, and this has helped us to enhance and enrich our editing capabilities. This has now led to the release of our new grid editing tools as part of the Spatial Editor in version 17.8. So now, alongside spatial data, you can also edit your grids. This includes the editing of grid surfaces by using the options that are already available in the Spatial Editor, such as the contour, fault, and polygon editing tools, but now also the new options for direct editing of the grid nodes. As this tool is available within the mapping module, you no longer have to go to the surface modelling to create a new surface or upgrade a surface based on your changes, as you can now regrid the grid directly in the Spatial Editor. There are a lot of workflows that this new functionality can help us with, and today we'll be focusing on the modifying of grid nodes. So, modifying grid nodes. This technique allows you to edit individual or groups of grid nodes without affecting the entire surface. This is important as it allows you to have more control over your edits by applying your own knowledge to the process. In this example on this slide, we have cleared a section of the grid nodes of our grid using a polygon. Now, this can either be a hand-picked polygon or an existing polygon file. The other options that we have available for editing grid nodes are interactively set, clear, or modify grid node values within an edit circle, interactively set, clear, or modify individual grid node values, and interactively interpolate grid nodes with a value from surrounding cells. Now, we'll take a look at all these methods in the demo, along with the different types of polygon file that can be used. In the past, the only way to edit your grid node values was in the Surface Modeling module. Now the functionality is accessible from mapping. Okay, so the best way to show you how to do this is going to be in the demo, so I'm just going to move on into the software. For the purpose of this demo, I have already created a grid in Petrasys. As you can see, the grid has been clipped to a clipping polygon. I have also included some faults in my gridding, and on my map I have my wells displayed. Now, I'm reasonably happy with this grid, except for this region down here, where there are some spikes. Now, the reason for this is the seismic around the fault is terrible, and as there's no way to improve it, I'm going to have to actually edit the data itself. So to do this, I'm going to take my grid into the new grid editor. Now, there are two ways that you can launch Grid Editor through the Spatial Editor. Now, you can do this through the Edit menu and launch Spatial Editor, or I can right mouse button on my grid in the display list and open Edit. Now, as you can see, my grid has now been opened in the Spatial Editor. Now, one thing you need to be aware of when you're trying to edit grid nodes in the Spatial Editor is that you need to make sure that they are actually turned on. Now, how you do this is under Layers, click on the layer first, then under Layer, Display Properties, there's a Values tab. Now, under here you need to ensure that Display Grid Values is ticked. You have the option to display symbols and also display text. Now for this example, I'm going to use both. I'm going to keep the symbol type as cross, but I could change it if I like. I'm also going to keep the default size of 5 pixels for the cross. For the text, I'm going to keep the location the same, but I'm going to change the size to 20, which is the maximum that I can set for this value. Now when I click OK, I'm going to have to zoom in on my area that I wish to edit. So I can either use my zoom button and draw a box, or I can use the scroll button on my mouse. So as I zoom in, you can see that there are the spikes in my grid that I wish to edit. You can also now see that there are crosses come up on my grid nodes. Now, at this point, you will only see the symbols. You won't be able to see the values, and this has been done on purpose. It's been done to ensure that your map doesn't get too messy, and it makes it a little bit clearer for you when you're trying to edit. So I'm going to have to zoom in a little bit further in order to see the actual values. So I've now zoomed in, just come out a little bit. Okay, I've now zoomed in, and as you can see, I can now see the grid values along with the symbols. Now there are 4 methods that we're going to take a look at today, and these tools are in the Spatial Editor toolbox down the bottom along here. So firstly, we're going to take a look at interactively setting, clearing or modifying grid node values within an edit circle. We're then going to move on and look at interactively setting, clearing or modifying individual grid node values. Thirdly, we're going to take a look at interactively interpolating grid nodes without a value from surrounding cells. And then finally, we're going to take a look at adjusting the grid nodes inside and outside polygons. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the values using the edit circle. So when I click on the button, you've now got some options available to you. You need to set the mode. The options are set value, clear value, or add value. Because I already have values and I wish to clear them, I'm going to set this to clear value. Now I can change the size of my edit circle if I wish. At the moment it's this size and I'm reasonably happy with that, but I could make it larger or smaller if I want. Now I'm just going to edit the areas on my map that I wish to change the values for. Just to make sure I get them all. Okay, now when I'm happy that I've cleared the values, what I'm going to do is I'm now going to add some values. So I'm going to interactively set individual grid nodes in this case, just to show you what that looks like. So once you select the option, you now have a little individual circle that appears over your grid nodes. So if you click on the individual grid node, a new box is going to come up where you have to select a new value or leave it blank for a missing value. Now, because my values are already blank, I'm going to set a new value. So in this case, I'm going to set the value to minus 1937. Click OK. I'm also going to do the same for the next one. And finally, I'll do a third. Now, as you can see, the grid nodes have been filled in, and this is Petrus's keeping up with me, by telling it what I want it to do. Okay, so the third method that we're going to take a look at is the interpolating grid nodes. So when I select this, now when I move my cursor onto my map, you can see that it is turned into crosshairs. And what this means is that Petrus now wants me to draw a box around the area that I wish to interpolate. Now, because I've actually gone a little bit outside my editing window here, I'm just going to zoom out ever so slightly and move the area. Okay, so I'm just going to start draw my box for the areas I wish to interpolate. Now, as you can see, the grid nodes have now been filled in, interpolated to the surrounding values. Okay, so the fourth method we're going to take a look at is using a polygon. Now, as with the other methods, you can use this to set values, clear values. In this case, you can also add constant values or smoothed values. Now, because all my grid nodes have now been filled in, I'm going to use this to clear values. I have the option to embed the clip and polygon in the grid if I would like. What this does is it makes clip and polygon available so you can actually see where you've edited afterwards. In this case, I'm going to leave it toggled off. Under Adjust Values, you have to select whether or not you want to use inside polygons or outside polygons. I'm going to keep this selected to inside polygons. The next thing you need to select is Aoi Source. Now this can be a hand-picked or selected from file polygon, as I previously mentioned in the introduction. For the purposes of this demo, I'm going to use hand-picked, but just so that you're aware of the options, I'm going to take a look at Select from File just for a second. So when you click Select from File, it's going to ask you to select your polygon. Now this is a list of the available types that we have. Obviously you have the Pyrosis polygon file, but if for example you wanted to connect directly to the trail or use a shapefile, those options are also available. So I'll just turn this back to handpicked. Now I need to select the handpicked Aoi polygon, and what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to hand draw onto my map. So when I click the button, it's going to move this out of the way. Now I'm just going to draw a polygon in the area that I wish to remove values. Now this area in pink here is the edited area. This is the area that my values are going to be cleared on. So when I'm happy, let's pull this across, click Apply, and then close. The values have now been removed as requested. Now just returning to the same option, this time we're going to set values. Now I'm going to leave this as -1932. Again, I'm not embedding the clip polygon. Again, I'm using inside and handpicked. So back to the handpick Aoi polygon option. Again, I'll just move my box out of the way. Draw a polygon around my edited area. This is the area I want to fill in. Click Apply, and then close, and my values have now been edited to the value that I set. Once I'm happy with my new grid, what I need to do is ensure that I save it. Now I can just save it to the same name as before, or I can also go to Save As. In this case, I'm happy just to overwrite my existing copy, so I'm just going to go to Save. Now the next thing I want to do to my grid, just to finish it off, is I would like to recontour the area that I have edited. Now I can do this using the button options in the toolbar. So I have the option to regenerate all contours from the corresponding grid, so this will recontour the entire grid. Or I can just recontour in the areas where I have modified the grid. I can also do this by right mouse clicking on the grid layer in the display list and choosing Recontour Full or Recontour Changed Areas. I'm going to click Recontour Changed Areas. And I'm going to go to Layers, Display Properties, under Contours, give it an increment, click OK. And as you can see, my contour has now appeared on my map. So I'm just going to zoom out so that you guys can see the new contours. The further out I zoom, you can now see that this contour looks a lot better and a lot more in tying with the rest of my map. If I wasn't perfectly happy with this contour, I could then go on and edit the contour. I could move it or I can smooth it. For the purpose of this demo, I am happy with the new contour. And that is my complete map after editing the erroneous grid nodes. Okay, so that's all that I wanted to show you in the demo. So I'm just going to go back to our presentation and we'll just have a quick run through of the Learn More section. Okay, so on to Learn More. As previously mentioned, we are running a series of webinars on the new grid editor, so if you like what you see, and you would like to see the next webinar, this will be run in January and will focus on adding faults to a grid. At the moment, there is no set date for this webinar, but it will be advertised soon on our website, so please keep checking to sign up. If you would like to learn more before this or have any questions, then you can view the other webinars in the series on our website. Or you can contact us at support either by giving us a call or by emailing support@petasys.com.au, and we'll be happy to help. So thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, then please feel free to ask them now by typing them into the question box. Thank you. Okay guys, it looks like nobody's had any questions so far. I could just hang around for another couple of minutes. If anybody would like to ask anything, just please feel free. I'll just give you another couple of minutes to have a think about it. As we said before, you can contact us at support, so if you do have a question after the webinar has finished, then just feel free to drop us a line or give us a call. Okay, it looks like we don't have any questions, so I'm just going to finish the webinar. Thank you again for attending, guys.